We begin with new developments in the Portland protest tonight. A senior White House official says the Trump administration is in talks with Governor Brown's office to pull some federal agents out of the city. That's according to an Associated Press report. The talks are said to be in the early stages with no agreement yet. Reports say a decrease in the federal presence would be contingent on an increase in enforcement by the state. The Portland Business Alliance also wants an end to the federal response. It released a statement today saying, in part, the presence of federal agents in a single block of downtown Portland has led to a near universal upset and a worsening of conditions on our streets over the last 2 weeks. The Portland Business Alliance stands united with our regional and state leaders in calling for peace and the departure of a heightened federal presence in Portland. And for another night, the protesters have gathered again in downtown. Maggie Despa is there for us. Maggie?
Hey, Kathy. Yeah, we're on that one block that you just talked about where the feds are. You can see the federal courthouse over here. A couple people just started climbing the fence. You can see the fence line just through the crowd. We heard some banging for a little while, and we can see some lights kind of being shown up on the federal courthouse walls. So far, we've heard some announcements from police letting people know basically to stop doing those things. But we haven't seen any sort of physical clashes between officers and protesters so far. Again, that is the federal courthouse, so we're talking about federal officers in this situation. We'll obviously keep an eye on it, let you know what changes. I do want to show you video that we shot earlier. You know, we've heard a lot of talk about the Wall of Moms nationally. They made huge headlines. This is when they showed up around 9 o'clock tonight. They marched into huge applause. And, you know, that group, as we reported, formed after the feds arrived here in Portland. It was really a reaction to the federal officers showing up in response to these protests. We talked to several people tonight. You'll hear from some of them coming up. We talked to one of them was the original organizers of the Wall of Moms. I asked her, given how this started in the wake of George Floyd's death, and given now that we have these federal officers here and this has become such a huge story, what's the priority? What are people here calling for in her mind? Here's what she said, again, her take on what the priority is right now.
Federal agents leaving Portland and allowing room and space for our very own mayor and governor to come to the table with black leadership. There's quite literally human rights violations on a major platform right here. We are getting our kicked, tear gas, rubber bullets, beanbag rounds, so on and so forth, batons, pepper spray. We are getting it from every side. And so this is an immediate need. Let us put out our fire right here. And then, yes, we will address our other concerns. But right now, our house is on fire.
What do you feel like you're out here protesting tonight?
Keeping the focus on ending police brutality and ending institutions of white supremacy. And even though there is a federal occupation, and I think that is a violation of the Constitution, we really want to keep the focus on ending racial injustice.
I'm here personally tonight because I've spent a long time not taking enough direct action here on the street. I've been donating money where I can, and I'm here with my friends tonight because we felt, a personal responsibility to show up and be physically present.
Why are you here tonight?
I joined the Wall of Moms on their second night because of the fact that they stood for Black Lives Matter and provided a wall of protection between the protesters and the federal agents. I was active before I had my daughter for Black Lives Matter, but ever since I had her, I never want her to ever see me not fighting for her rights.
All right, so back out here live again, we're showing you the fence line in front of the federal courthouse here in downtown Portland. I want to point out, I said some people were climbing the fence. A lot of the people also that you're seeing kind of above the line of people who are at the fence line are also doing that to take pictures. We've heard them making speeches. They're kind of addressing the crowd. And they're also, frankly, a lot of people just getting a look at the federal officers behind the fence and what they're doing. This crowd has been about this size most of the night. It's several hundred people by our estimation. We've heard some people saying it's smaller, noticeably smaller than nights before. That was a firework over to the left, and that just went off. That's the first big one that we've seen tonight. And again, you can see the lights being shown on the federal courthouse up here. And again, though, this is a smaller crowd than nights before, but it is a big crowd, and we're seeing some people disagreeing about what they want to happen here. We go to the foreground, you can see scorched earth in the middle of this traffic median. If we can pan down to where that fire was, that was about 20 minutes ago that someone lit a bunch of trash on fire. And then people ran up and said, no, we don't want that to happen here. They put the fire out, they poured water on it, and they got into an argument saying that's not what we're here for. So definitely disagreement and different takes on why people are here. You can see the crowd moving again. If we pan back over to the fence line, we're not sure what they're moving toward at this point. We're going to move toward that direction and try to give you guys a better look on what's happening right now. But again, things have until this point remained largely peaceful. Now we're starting to see some fireworks and we're starting to see some movement. Again, 62nd night, consecutive night of protests here in downtown Portland. A lot of people telling us they just want at this point the feds to leave, and then they'll focus on the issues that brought them out here, which is Black Lives Matter and fighting racism. We'll have more updates online and bring you updates as they're warranted here on air, but for now, back to you.
Maggie, thank you. Here's another take on what's been going on downtown Portland. Earlier today, we heard from U.S. Attorney General William Barr. He's defending the federal presence in Portland around the courthouse. He testified to the House Judiciary Committee this morning. Barr said the protests are no longer about George Floyd's death and provide violent opportunities for, quote, rioters and anarchists.
We are on the defense. We're not out looking for trouble. And if the state and the city would provide the law enforcement services that other jurisdictions do, we would have no need to have additional marshals in the courthouse.
The Trump administration sent those federal agents to Portland back on July 4th. The organizers of an effort to support the Black Lives Matter movement with some art say someone took their work down. Corey Blue helped to put up artwork and signs with the names of people who had died from police violence. The display was along a path between Foster and Holgate in Southeast Portland. Corey says the art went up Saturday, but had already been torn down by the next day. His wife had the idea to make the memorial, and the community quickly came together.
Over the course of about 3 hours that they came by, everyone was nice and social distance, had masks on, all that good stuff. And they took time putting the signs up, telling us the stories that they read about the individuals, going by and reading the other signs. And so we plan on doing something real similar. People are already ready to go and get their signs right back up on these trees.
You hear there, they are planning to put a new display in place.
I will push, I will cajole, and I will demand nothing but excellence from our districts and our educators.
A big announcement from Oregon Governor Brown today about the upcoming school year. She released new guidelines for getting kids back in the classroom, and it's clear most students will start the year online, at least for some of the time. Today, the governor gave specific metrics counties have to meet before in-person or even hybrid classes can start. A county can have just 10 new COVID cases per 100,000 people per week for 3 weeks straight. In Multnomah County, for example, that'd mean a maximum of 81 cases a week. Last week, the county had 453 new cases, so it's nowhere close to meeting the requirement yet. As a result, Portland Public Schools notified parents there'll be online classes through at least November 5th. Other metro area schools are also starting online or even delaying the start of the school year. There are some exceptions to the metrics, and we're getting plenty of questions about them tonight. Morgan Romero has some answers.
Last month, Governor Brown thought schools may be able to pull off a partial reopen. So school districts over the summer were coming up with their plans for the school year. But Tuesday's announcement shattered some of those plans, much to many people's dismay.
I want to be really clear that our highest priority is to open our schools to in-person instruction for our students, and that we want each community to have the ability to do that as soon as we believe that they can provide safety and stability for our students, families, and the staff at each of our schools.
Tons of people hit us up on social media with questions. People are asking where these metrics came from. The Oregon Health Authority, Department of Education, and Early Learning Division worked together on them. They're based off county and state COVID-19 case numbers and positive test rates. They've also looked to how other countries reopen schools. After we posted an article about school districts in Multnomah County, some thought the county set the bar for the whole state. To be clear, it doesn't. The same metrics apply to pretty much every school district, but case counts look different in every county. On Facebook, Stephen asked if schools will close again if the positive test rate creeps up above 5%. If counties see 30 cases per 100,000 people or a 10% positive test rate over the course of a week, districts will have to move to remote learning. Like a lot of people, Brittany asked, what is the K through 3 exception? Kindergartners through 3rd graders can go back to school if the county they're in has less than 30 cases per 100,000 people over a 7-day span.
And here's why. Our younger students get the virus at lower rates, get less sick, and are less likely to transmit the virus. And these younger students need access to in-person education to build the literacy and numeracy skills that they need that are critical to their continued learning.
This exception also applies to small rural districts and rural private schools, as well as students with disabilities. Brianna and Crystal wondered how they could find out if their county can do that. Well, individual school districts make those decisions, and you should be hearing from them very soon. You can also usually track case counts on your county's website or on this OHA dashboard. Right now, we're working to find out if any Oregon school districts do have plans to start school in person this fall. Heidi and Mel asked if this impacts universities and colleges. It doesn't. They pretty much set their own rules. Many already have some sort of plan for online courses, in person with social distancing, or a mix of both. Reporting in Portland, Morgan Romero, KGW News.
So much to keep track of, so important to know. We are keeping track of every school district's plan for reopening. You can find it at kgw.com or visit our website or text school to 503-226-5088 and we'll send you a link. Oregon saw some discouraging coronavirus numbers today. The state reporting another 14 people have died. Deaths have been low in Oregon during the pandemic compared to other states. This chart shows the number per day. 14 is by far the most we've had in a single day, and the state has now passed 300 deaths total. One of today's reported deaths is that of a 26-year-old man from Yamhill County. He is the youngest person to die from the virus in Oregon. We wanted to give you a closer look at the ages of others who have died in the state. Almost half have been over the age of 80. Another 45% were over 60, with just a few younger.